We thank the gentleman. Ranking Member Waters, you're recognized for your amendments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just 11 days from now, the House is on track to shut down the government, forcing millions of government workers, including U.S. service members protecting the country, to work for free or not at all. Among the many agencies that would shutter is Wall Street's cop on the block, the Securities and Exchange Commission. Such a shutdown would cripple the SEC's ability to stop fraud, help businesses raise money, and finalize rules that are critical to investors and market participants. However, even if a shutdown is averted, the funding bill before us today contains egregious cuts to the SEC's budget that would have a similar effect. Additionally, the bill would undermine the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in several harmful ways, including eliminating its independent funding authority, defunding or underfunding the SEC, and undermining the CFPB, risk harming countless consumers, small businesses, workers, and investors. Mr. Chair, this SEC is shaping up to be the most pro-worker, pro-investor, pro-small business SEC since President Franklin Delano Roosevelt created the agency almost 90 years ago. The Commission is doing a great job, yet instead of providing it with the funding it needs, the bill before us guts the Commission's ability to pass critical rules that protect our nation's investors, small businesses, and working families. Many of the amendments Democrats are offering today prevent these drastic cuts and restrictions from going into effect. The first amendment I'm offering, Waters 218, would fund the SEC at the full amount that's requested by Biden administration. The current funding level in the bill is nearly $450 million short of the administration's request. This amendment simply raises that figure by the same amount, ensuring the Commission has the resources necessary to do its job that Congress and the American people expect it to do. It also has no deficit impact because the SEC's budget is entirely offset by small fees on securities transactions. My next amendment, Waters 221, prevents public companies from restricting the ability of their shareholders to offer thoughtful suggestions, strengthening corporate governance and accountability at the companies they own. As part owners of the company, shareholders have a right to have a say in the direction that the company takes. Yet the bill before us would change SEC rules to make it easier for management to exclude shareholder ideas, especially those that strengthen corporate accountability, increase transparency through climate, disclosure, diversity, hiring, and workers' training and compensation. My amendment would empower shareholders to continue to guide the path of their corporate ships. The next amendment I'm offering, Waters 222, addresses the issue of foreign-based private funds that invest in companies situated within the borders of Americans' adversaries. Registered investment advisors, which manage trillions of dollars in the U.S., are currently not prohibited from serving such customers who may undermine our national security. My amendment fixes this loophole. Next, I have an amendment, Waters 224, that reduces the harmful impact of the revolving door between SEC officials and the private sector. The SEC currently has rules that prevent former employees from practicing before the agency for a specified period of time, yet it often grants waivers, essentially nullifying the effect of the rules on so-called cooling periods. My amendment prevents the Commission's funds from being used to grant such waivers, effectively closing this loophole and reducing Wall Street's and K Street's influence in the SEC. I'm also offering an amendment, Waters 225, that prevents issuers that continuously violate securities laws from being able to offer securities with fewer legal requirements. Under current SEC rules, issuers who have a certain amount of public equity and debt, referred to as well-known seasoned issuers or WICSs, referred to as WKSIs, are able to offer securities to the public without the commission needing to review their registration statement, also known as automatic effectiveness. This special privilege can be taken away, however, if the issuer commits financial misconduct like fraud. Despite this rule, the SEC currently provides waivers to WKSIs that allow them to continue offering securities under their special status, even if they have committed fraud. My amendment stops the SEC from being able to grant such waivers to firms that have been fined a combination or combined $300 million or more for misconduct over the preceding 5 years. This will protect bad actors on Wall Street from continuing to take advantage of privileges that are only meant for certain law-abiding issuers. Finally, I urge this committee to allow consideration of my amendment, Waters 174, to encourage that we match President Biden's funding request for the CDFI fund. CDFIs have broad bipartisan support and can leverage $340 million in federal funds to provide $3.4 billion in loans to underserved communities. While I disagree with many of his policies, former Treasury Secretary Mnuchin worked closely with me to ensure we empowered CDFIs during the pandemic to make PPP loans and get the support they needed to serve underserved rural and urban communities. So I urge consideration of my amendment. Turning to the CFPB, I support Amendment 257 offered by Representative Tlaib that will strike the bill's harmful provisions to undermine the only federal consumer watchdog solely focused on protecting them from predatory payday lenders, debt collectors, and recidivist megabanks. These provisions would change CFPB's single director leadership into a commission and convert its independent funding into annual appropriations so that Washington could shut them down every year. No, that is not what 4 out of 5 Americans that support CFPB, including a staggering 77% of Republicans, want from this government. So I hope the committee will make all of these amendments in order. Additionally, I would ask that members support the following amendments offered by my Democratic colleagues on the Financial Services Committee. These include Williams' Amendment 258, which strikes the language that defunds Treasury's Federal Insurance Office. As members know, FIO provides important information about trends in the insurance industry to the Treasury Department and the federal government at large, and it's critical that Congress continue to fund that office. I also ask members to support Representatives Caston and Vargas's amendment number 72, which would protect the SEC's ability to strengthen disclosure on climate risk. And finally, Representatives Caston, Vargas, and Maxine's amendment 237, which would prevent the SEC from creating hurdles on proxy advisors. I thank you so very much, and I'm so pleased to be here with Mr. Donaldson today. That's my friend. He supports all of this. Thank you.
Well, thank all of you, and let me reassure you, I've been advised that there